Okay, video camera rolling and getting to Facebook. And Facebook in 3, 2, 1, and Facebook is live.
And one more thing.
One more thing, watch party.
Yep.
Gotta have the watch party.
So I'm working.
I'm impatient tonight because I know what we're making and it's really good and I really like it and I want to make one. So, I'm waiting on the watch party.
And one more thing.
One more thing.
I always forget to turn the sound off.
Yep.
I don't know why.
We wait for Hillary to forget to turn the sound off.
Gotta turn this a little bit.
That's becoming like Kenneth being late with the slides. Like, Hillary didn't turn the sound off.
And
the ice machine.
the ice machine will go every time.
So that's when we get the ice. That's how it works.
You're good.
Okay, yay! Welcome to day 15, right?
Yes.
15.
I think so.
Starting week 3 of Crazy Cabin Fever cocktails, and we are starting week 3 with Manhattan Madness. So Manhattan is one of my personal favorite drinks, cocktails, both to make and to drink. It's classically built on rye or bourbon, some form of American whiskey, vermouth, and bitters. And it's pretty easy to remember because this is what's called a 2-1-2 cocktail. 2 dashes bitters, 1 part or 1 ounce sweet vermouth, and 2 parts 2 ounces of your whiskey. And back when area codes were a thing, 212 is the area code of Manhattan. So that just worked together really nicely. Made it a little like mnemonic kind of thing to remember it. Then there's a lot of like history with this drink. About 90% of it's not true, but that's alright because it's really delicious. Now the one thing about this, we did a cocktail, a similar cocktail before. We did a Kentucky Martinez, which builds on this and merges it with a Martinez cocktail, which is unfortunately a cocktail that's gone out of style. Hoping to bring that one back. The key to this though is vermouth does not play well with others. So I'm basically giving you the recipe, and this is done in Manhattan style. That's the construction. Basically we're going to stir it for a long time. We have to stir it for a long time because this vermouth will leave a bitterness, even though this is a sweet vermouth, and you'll get this disorganization of the flavors. They don't harmonize. It's what I call a difficult integration cocktail. So I want them to integrate, and I'm going to have to spend a long time stirring. That's just what I'm going to do. Now, I want to do a variant on this. This is your classic traditional or sweet Manhattan 2-1-2. I'm going to make a perfect style. I'm going to bring in dry vermouth. Making a cocktail perfect means you bring the sugar down by half. So in an old-fashioned, you just bring the sugar down by half. In this case, we're replacing half of the sweet vermouth with half of the dry vermouth. So it's going to be 2, 1/2, 1/2, 2, which doesn't have a mnemonic for it. So there you go. If you want to make it dry, you do it like that. And I just realized I forgot the garnish, so we're not going to do the garnish. Normally this would get garnished with the cherry, unless you go full dry, in which case it's garnished with a little bit of a lemon twist. So I have got. No, I don't think there's any chance we're getting. Well, there may be an attempt at getting cocktail cherries. We shall see. So, I've got my cocktail mixing glass, ice. I'm going to do actually cocktail cherries. These are good ones too, because these are the Jack Rudy's. Oh, sugar. Okay. Normally it'd be 2-1-2. Hillary likes a little less bitterness, so I'm actually going to make a double, because we're both going to have one, but I'm going to reduce the bitters to just 3 dashes. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I spilled a little. That's what I get for trying to do it high up. Shouldn't do that. Bad form.
Can you put the glasses away from each other a little bit? They're like clinking every time. Well, they were clinking when I was like creeping past.
Something else is clinking too.
It must be something. Oh, it was there.
Aha. Alright. Figured out the sound issue. And I'm doubling this, so I'm going 2 1/2 ounces. So it's going to give me 1 full ounce of sweet vermouth. And you always build in this order, starting with your smallest and cheapest ingredients and working your way to your most expensive. Because when you're working with a $300 bottle of rye, you don't want to put this in first and screw it up. Okay. So now I'm going to do my 2 1/2 ounces, or 1 ounce of
FYI,
dry vermouth.
You can use other alcohols in this. We are using what we have in the house, what we know we want to drink.
Okay. So I'm going to do 2 2-ounce pours of this, maybe. It's I take it right to the bottom of the bottle. I got a sample pour left over. Look at that. And nothing but stirring. I would just sit here and
Tim stares at the screen.
So, ideally, when you're stirring a drink like this, you want to stir it fairly quickly, but not so quickly that you make any noise. As quiet as possible. The ice should just be moving inside the liquid as a single unit. I messed up a little bit there. It's hard to talk and do this at the same time. There we go. Got a little better stir on it. That means you're not introducing any air, which is part of the key of this drink. That's why this is stirred and not shaken. Shaken would introduce air and give you a little bit of a foam cap on top, just a little bit of bubbles, which is incorrect. This is meant to be a silky drink. It's meant to be very kind of heavy on the palate. It's going to be a little less heavy because I'm using some dry vermouth in this, but it's going to be, it's still going to be very big in the mouth compared to like an effervescent or a thin cocktail. There's all sorts of different ways of describing different styles of cocktails. And I should have been counting this because I really want to go 90 to 120 seconds because I'm making 2 of them. If you are at a restaurant and you order one of these, it should come out this color. It should not come out bright pink because that means they put artificial cherry juice in it, which is an abomination that got introduced into Manhattan sometime in the 80s. And also, be patient with your bartender, especially if your whole table orders these. It's going to take you 15 or 20 minutes to get your drinks out, and that's okay because this is totally worth it. Just like right now, I have nothing to do but stir this because I want it right because I'm drinking this. I'm not doing the movie magic thing and stirring this thing up. All right.
I don't have anything to add either, so I'm kind of just like standing over here going, I hope Tim has enough to talk about.
I just make stuff up. Okay. Normally this would be served in a martini glass. Back in the day, that's how they did it. Modern values have changed this over to the coupes. They're just easier to hold and easier to walk around with. And I am going to I should be using a julep strainer or a fine mesh just to make sure that there's no ice flecks in it, but I'm not doing that. Do it just like that.
I honestly don't know where to put the cherry in there. It's going to overflow.
It's going to go right to the top. But the cherry is incredibly delicious when you get down to it and you finish the cocktail. Now, one of the things about this drink, I was telling somebody one time, and they looked at me like I was crazy. You can tell how long a drink is supposed to take to drink, to consume, by the amount or lack of ice that's in it. No ice means it's not going to dilute any, so this should take a very long time to drink. This is like half an hour to an hour to drink one of these things. And also, it's 3 ounces of alcohol, so it's quite potent. And as you get smaller, you get one big brick of ice, like you get a bourbon with a nice, like a Kentucky Straight ice ball or cube or something like that, beautiful ice. That should take a long time to drink. Smaller and smaller ice, you drink more and more quickly. When you get down to crushed ice like a mint julep, you're basically doing a shot. Just keep that in mind. So, Hillary, here's yours.
Cut it.
And one for me.
Yep. Very, 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 very good.
That is phenomenal. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's really good. So, perfect Manhattan. Okay, now I'm going to make a Mocktail Manhattan. Sort of, maybe. We haven't actually tried this one yet, but it sounded like a cool idea. So, we're going to use tea, this wonderful, we've used this before, the Elmwood Inn Southern Pecan tea, as our whiskey replacement. Then as our vermouth replacement, we're going to use pomegranate juice. And then we're going to use, this is from Bitter Truth, Jerry Thomas's own decanter bitters, which is one of the earliest bitter recipes that was written down. And I'm assuming that they are faithful to the original, and this does smell amazing. And we're going to build this in glass. We're going to do this over ice. So I'm going to do 2 dashes. That's a lot more than I meant, but that's all right. came out a little faster. I'm going to do about an ounce of my pomegranate juice. And this is going to bring a lot of sweetness. A little bit more even than a regular Manhattan. It's just how it's going to land out to be. And then I'm going to do...
Take the red top off of that.
Yep.
These things... This picture is a little weird.
I don't pour well out of this picture if I can spell it. I'm going to do 2 ounces. Oh, I did it right. And this has got easy integration. Bitters is the only thing that's going to be slightly difficult to integrate into this. And it's really not going to be challenging to get it to integrate. So where I had to play with that vermouth for a real long time in order to get it to work, I don't have to do that with this one. And then I'm going to go ahead and give it a cherry too, just so that people feel like they're getting a real quality drink and not some sort of fake drink. And for a while, and I haven't seen this in maybe 5 or 6 years, but for a while there was a trend of enhancing a Manhattan with orange zest, which is nice. It's a nice additional accent. You kind of just spritz it over the top, ram it around, drop it in. But we ran out of citrus, so I'm not doing that. And it's not really normally how I take my Manhattans anyway. So, Mocktail Manhattan.
Does it have the same kind of it's going to be sweeter.
It's sweeter and a little bit more tart versus the sophistication of the vermouth. You might even try spicing the tea a little bit to give it a little bit more depth. It's not bad. It's kind of a sweet tea variant. The bitters do enhance it. Without the bitters, it would be very, very flat. So,
I think a Manhattan is something that's I don't know that I've ever seen anybody actually come at that close to a real Manhattan in a mocktail.
Yeah.
The tea is kind of where we've been trying to get some of those characteristics of the bourbon, and it has worked really well. And that is still a really good drink, but it's not quite as one-to-one as some of the other mocktails we've done.
Yeah, it's not, but it's still good. But you are replacing all alcohols because that's what this is. This is a straight alcohol drink. So there you go. Manhattan Madness for day 15 for Crazy Cabin Fever cocktails. We have stuff planned for later in the week, but not as much for earlier in the week, so suggestions are welcome.
And as always, we'll put the recipes online afterwards. And I've been getting a higher quality YouTube video up so that you can watch that off the website if Facebook or any of these is choppy or the audio is cutting out, because we've had that a bit, especially on Facebook. But so far we haven't lost anybody tonight, which is great.
Oh, yay! The internet's holding up. The tubes aren't too crowded. All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Good night. I'm going to turn them all off now.